Have a good day. Again, this is your primary companion in adult learning. Let us pronounce the two words as to stress. So let's find out the primary stress in these two words. So let's have first andragogy. Before, I pronounce this as andragogy. Andragogy. The correct pronunciation is andragogy. Andragogy. The same is true with pedagogy. Pedagogy. Before, I pronounce this as pedagogy, but the correct pronunciation is pedagogy. Pedagogy. The primary stress lies in the first component, pedagogy. And andragogy. How many syllables do we have in these two words? There are four. For andragogy, andragogy, there are four syllables. So, andragogy. The same with pedagogy. Pedagogy. Each of these words, the primary stress falls in the first component. So, andragogy and pedagogy. Okay, pronounce it. Follow after me. Andragogy. Andragogy. Pedagogy. Pedagogy. Okay, so I hope when we have recitation online, you can pronounce this correctly as to stress. I assigned you to write the comparison and contrast of pedagogy and andragogy using the Venn diagram. Were you able to do it? Did you pass it? Have you passed it already? Or have you submitted already? Okay, so take a look at this Venn diagram. So, Venn diagram. And at the middle, take a look at the middle. So, at the middle, the comparison. So, what are the comparison? The comparisons or the similarities of andragogy and pedagogy. The first is goal-oriented. So, both are goal-oriented. Both of them, the adults and the children, have goals or objectives to achieve. So both have goals. They are goal-oriented. The second one is they are learning through hands-on. They are learning through hands-on. They are what? They are doing, learning by doing. So they observe the principle, learning by doing, or they are doing it in order to learn the task or to achieve the task. And then the third one is they need feedback. They need feedback. So once they do it, they want to hear from somebody or from not only from one but more the feedbacks, because through feedbacks they improve. They improve. So there is a transformation once they know the feedback. And this feedback is very important, not only for children, but for adults. And the fourth one is communication with teachers and peers. Once they hear the comment or the feedback, they want to communicate or to talk with that person to know the reason why, because they want to know the reason why they have that feedback. So these are the common or the similarities between andragogy and pedagogy. Andragogy and pedagogy. Okay, what about the contrast or the differences? So on both sides, you can see the differences. So let's talk about the differences. I assigned you this already. I hope you have others have the same answer. So you put a check mark. If you have that paper not yet submitted, you check, huh? Okay, check your own paper. Let's find out if your answers are correct. So I have already presented to you the similarities. What about the contrast or the differences? So the first one is for pedagogy, content-centered. So content-centered. The children want to know the lesson, the subject matter, the skill. They want to master the skill. So they are content-centered. Content. The teacher presents the objective, the activities, and they want to know those. The activities, they want to master the objective through activities. So they are content-centered. While the adult, they are what? Learner-centered. So they are, the center of their task is themselves, because they are already old or adult. So that is perhaps their reason. And the second one, the second difference is dependent. The children are dependent on teacher, very dependent to teacher. Whatever instructions are given, they follow. Almost all of them follow the instructions. Without instructions, no activities to be done. So instructions are very important. Content is very important for the children. So they are what? Dependent on teacher. Whatever is being instructed or is being told, they follow those. So dependent on teacher. And that is the opposite for adult. They are not what? They are not dependent on teacher. I am not dependent on teacher. The adults are not dependent on teacher. They work on their own. They know the instructions, they know the objective, and they work on their own. And the third one is developed by curriculum. Yes, it has something to do with the first difference. Then the children are motivated because of rewards, because of external rewards, incentives, and because also of punishment. Especially those who are in the elementary, they are motivated to learn or to follow because of punishment. But punishment nowadays no longer they are no longer followed, or they are no longer done. They are no longer given, no longer punishment as of today in DepEd, not accepted. They are motivated by incentives. So what are the forms of incentives? The other forms of incentives: recognition, okay. What else? Certificate of recognition, medals, then prizes. Okay, so these are forms of rewards. Okay, unlike the adults, they are also motivated by internal rewards. Internal, they learn something because more of values. So they learn because of initiative. Yan. Because of their initiative, because of their industry, because they're industrious. So initiative, so they want to learn. They are motivated because they have their own objective. Okay, and that is perhaps because they are already old for their future. And the last one is teacher is the only resource for the children. But to adults, not only teacher, but there are more resources. Not only to teachers, from their teachers, but from other persons involved in their ambitions or goals in life. So those are the differences and the similarities of pedagogy, pedagogy and andragogy. Pedagogy, okay, andragogy, pedagogy, okay. The similarities and contrast through Venn diagram. I hope you have those answers. So if your paper is still with you, check, make put a check mark to the answers given. just recall what I present to you and then put a check mark. Okay, so I want to unlock these difficulties, this unfamiliar word. What do you know about reciprocal? Reciprocal, we will encounter this as we move on, as we continue uh, discussing all about, okay, what is all about adult learning. So what is reciprocal? Reciprocal, shared, and other meaning is shown by both. Shared and shown by both. Reciprocal, shared, and shared by both. So what part of the speech is this? This is adjective. It can be used also as noun, but this is adjective as to given meaning. Shared and then shown by both. Shown by both.
This is the only task you will do. Explain why adults don't depend on teachers, and cite a scenario or an event how adults don't depend on teachers. And this is positivist-ing ang inyong kapasi at primary companion sa adult learning, nagsasabing think positive.